All right, so if you haven't already, at the top of your notes, this is indicator 31. It's our very last indicator of the year. Thankfully, we're in the home stretch here. So indicator 31. And I don't have a 0.1 or 0.2 with it because this is it. It's just one day, one assignment, and we will call it done. So the first thing that a lot of you did already for me is we're not gonna mess with this table right here. So for right now, you can just put an X through that table. We're not gonna mess with that. So I had told you guys that I wanted you to, while you were waiting on me to get going, is to fill out this table as with the empty spots. So just really quickly, if you add up the 7th graders across the board, right? If you're looking at this across the board, you've got 7th graders. Some can swim, some can't, but a total of 180 7th graders. Then if you add up the 8th graders, some can, some can't swim, you have a total of 179. And then if you add up your 9th graders, some can and some can't swim, you have a total of 175. Then if you look at your graph the other way, and that's why this is called a two-way frequency table, because you look at it from the side and from the top as far as being able to look at the data. You add up all those students that can swim. So you're adding up 7th, 8th, and 9th graders all together, but these are the ones that can swim. Somebody tell me what that total is. 460? Okay. And then we're going to add up those that can't swim, and it is 74? All right. And then what should happen, and I don't want you guys to get lazy because this will help you catch errors every so often, is you should add up this side and you should add up this side, and both should give you the total that goes here. Okay, so your two-way frequency table should, your total on one side, your total on the other, you should get the same numbers. So you should add up 180 plus 179 plus 175, and we get 534. Then if we check ourselves, we should also add up 460 plus 74 equals 434 or 534. So that tells us that our table was all added up right. We didn't fat finger anything on the calculator and miss add anything. So when you look at the instructions here, it says A says to complete the table, and that's what we just did. Complete the table means fill in any of the boxes that are empty, and we've done that, okay, by totaling everything. So then it asks, how many students need swimming lessons? So if you look at, first of all, you've got to read everything, and I skipped ahead of it myself and shouldn't have. You need to always read the little blurb at the top, because the blurb at the top usually gives you some information about the story that's being told by this data table. So it says the students in a seaside school are to have extra swimming lessons if they cannot swim. Okay, so they have to have extra swimming lessons if they cannot swim. The table below gives information about the students in grades 7, 8, and 9. So then it says, how many students need swimming lessons? Well, we know that the students that need swimming lessons are the ones that can't swim. And we've already tallied that up, that the total number of students that cannot swim is 74. So we would answer that with that number. Then it says, how many students are in the 8th grade? Well, we've already tallied that up too, right? We went across right here. We went across the 8th grade, and we tallied up all of the students in 8th grade, and we got 179. Then it says, how many of the 7th grade students cannot swim? And this is where that whole two-way table comes in, because you have to look at this from two different directions. You have to look at first the 7th graders. So we're looking at this line, but then we want to know where that intersects with cannot swim, which is here. And so the 7th graders that cannot swim intersects at 60. So that's how you read these tables. Okay, pretty straightforward. And then the last one says, how many students in grades 7 and 8 can swim? So we want to know grades 7 and 8 that can swim. Well, that is the can swim, and this right here is our 7th and 8th graders. And so that is 288. Is that right? Check my math. All right. So then it says, how many students are there all together in grades 7, 8, and 9? Well, that should be that red number out to the side, right? Because we totaled up all of our students in grades 7, 8, and 9 right here. And we got a total of 534. Okay. Now, this next part says to create a two-way frequency table for the above data. I'm not going to do that because we're going to do that in a separate area. So we're not necessarily, we're going to still do it, but we're just not going to do it up in that table, okay? So one of the little notes I want you to write to yourself, and it's really not going to make much sense right now, but at the top of your paper, I want you to write R over of, or you could also write part over whole. And each problem, each question that you're going to be asked about this frequency table is going to be about a different part and a different whole. So it's not always going to be talking about the whole student body of 534. And I'll show you how to decide what exactly is your part and what is your whole. And the trick is kind of paying attention to this R over of, which is why I show you both. All right, because you're going to build a fraction and then you're going to determine a percentage based on that fraction. So let me show you what that looks like. So what is the relative frequency? And when you see relative frequency, if you want to circle this in your notes and then out to the side, put percentage, because that's what we're going to be figuring here. Okay, most of the time it just says what is the percentage. Every once in a while you'll see what is the relative frequency. Okay, so what is the relative frequency? And you'll notice the language here of students who are in the 8th grade. Okay, now it's not always going to be worded exactly like that. You may not see the word R every single time, but you'll get the main idea of how we're looking for that group of R that are the smaller group of kids, right? So the first thing it says is what is the relative frequency of students? Okay, there's our of, and so our of here is all the students. So if we're making a fraction here, and we're making a fraction, the of students, the of is on the bottom, the of here says all of the students, so that is the 534. Then it goes on to say are in the 8th grade and cannot swim. So that tells you your small group. Okay, your of is your big group, and that in this case, of is all the students. And then your R tells you what smaller group you're looking at. And your smaller group, your part always goes on top, your whole always goes on the bottom. So in this case, we want to know 8th graders who cannot swim. So we look at our table, and we look at 8th graders who cannot swim, and that intersects at 11. So then our top number of our fraction is 11. Okay, now everybody should have a calculator in front of them, and everybody's going to participate, so be ready. Everybody punch in 11 divided by 534. Hang on. Now, you're going to get a decimal, and that's okay. I'm going to do it the long way the first time, and then I'll show you that if you can do it on the calculator without doing it the long way, you are absolutely more than welcome to. Tyler, go ahead and give me that decimal. 0.020599. That's good. That's just 4 out. All right, so I want to know the percentage. And so you figure percentage from a decimal by moving over 2 spots, 1, 2, okay, and placing your decimal here. And then you're going to round to the 10th, which means your answer is going to be 2 point something. Well, you use the 5 to round the 0 up to a 1, and so it's 2.1%. Now, if in your head, if you can skip this part right here and you don't have to write this part down on your paper, I am totally fine with that. What is required on every single one of these for indicator 31 is this fraction right here, and then your answer in percentage form. Those are the 2 things that are required. If you can skip the middleman and it doesn't confuse you rounding on your calculator, I'm totally fine with that. Okay? All right, so let's look at the next one that we're asked to look at. We're asked to look at the what percentage of 9th grade, so that means of 9th grade students, I should say, All right, so of ninth grade students, that tells us that the bottom of the fraction is the ninth grade students. How many ninth grade students do we have? Gwen? 175? All right. So of ninth grade students, the of is on the bottom. And then it says, now this is where I said you got to be careful because don't be like dogmatic about having to see the word are. The word are just means are the smaller group, right? So of the ninth grade students, which are the ones that can swim? So can swim is your smaller group here. Ninth grade that can swim. Well, you look at your ninth grade that can swim, and that intersects at 172. So your ninth grade that can swim is 172. So in this case, your of, remember I said your of or your whole isn't always going to be that big 534 number. In this case, it just wants to know of the ninth graders, how many of the ninth graders can swim. So swimming ninth graders on top, all of the ninth graders on bottom. And Camden, what do you get there for I don't care if you tell me percentage or decimal, either one. 98.3%. Okay. All right. The next one says, what percentage of students? Okay, that's all of them. So that tells us that our bottom number, I'm going to probably have to scoot over here and do it on this side. Our bottom number is going to be the whole 500 and, what is it? 34? Thanks. I've scrolled up a little bit. And then it says, what percentage of students, that's all of them, cannot swim? So the total number of students that cannot swim is what? Chase. Total number that cannot swim. 74. So our total of all students cannot swim, that's our smaller part. Those are the ones that cannot swim over our whole, which in this case is the whole student body. And Dalton, what do you get when you put that in the calculator? Even? Okay, 13.9%. Okay. This bottom one here, we've got what percentage of students. So our of or our bottom number is that 430 or 534 are ninth graders. So we want to know of the whole student body, what are the ninth graders? So Houston, what do I put on top? 175. And Bella, what's that equal? Ninth graders on top, all of the student body on bottom. 175 divided by 534. What is it? 32.8%. Okay. So these really are not hard. The hardest part of this is just figuring out what's the small part and then what's the big part. What percentage of the big whole part is, and then you get some sort of small part out of it. Okay. All right. So I told you guys to kind of play around with this while you were waiting on me to see how far you could get. So this is kind of like a puzzle. And so you have to fill in this table all the way, but you kind of have to do it in a little bit of a special order because you don't have enough information just right off the bat to start filling in every single block. So first of all, always read the blurb at the top, right? Or the little explanation about the data. So in this case, it tells us that a principal of a school with 484 students, okay, collected information about how many students wear glasses. Where would that 484 go? Bottom right corner, right, good. So the 484 is the total amount of students in this school, okay? So our boys and girls up and down should add up to 484. And our always wears, sometimes wears, and never wears, that group along there should also add up to 484. Now, we have a couple of columns that right off the bat we can add up. We can add up 40 plus 36 to get 76. And we can add up 161 plus 144 to give us, what is that, 305? Check me. I did it on my head real quick. 305. Now that we have that, and we know the total has to equal 484, and we know that 305 never wear glasses and 76 always wear glasses, we can subtract 305 and 76 from the total number of students to fill in the sometimes block. So we have 484 minus 305 minus 76 gives us 103. So now we know that 76 always wear glasses, 103 sometimes do, 305 never do, and that total should add up to 484. Well, now we also can add across all the way across the girls, right? That information's all there already. So if we add up straight across the girls, we know the total number of girls in the school is 36 plus 55 plus 144. So that gives us 235. And now there's a couple ways we can back into both of the two open spots. One is if you just look at the sometimes wears glasses. We know that there's 103 students that sometimes wear glasses, and we know that 55 of them are girls, so that means that 48 of them are boys. And now we have enough information that we can add straight across the boys, and we can get that number, or we can take the total amount of students right here and we can subtract 235 for the girls, and that's going to tell us the boys. We're actually going to do both because you always want to, in the end, you always want to add both columns to make sure that everything lines up and you haven't kind of fat-fingered anything. So if we first add up the boys, we have 40 plus 48 plus 161. That gives us 249. Whoops. And then if we check ourselves, 249 plus the number of girls that we have in the school, if we did it right, should equal 484, and it does. So that tells us that our table is all filled in with all the proper numbers. Okay? So now we just have some questions that were asked about the table. So we're going to use our filled in table now. Of course, step A there just says complete the table. We've done that. Step B says, how many boys sometimes wear glasses? Let's see. Javen, how many boys sometimes wear glasses? 48. Okay. And then we're asked how many students wear glasses some of the time? Seth, what do you think? 103. So that's how many students, that's both boys and girls, wear their glasses some of the time. So that number was 103. How many students never wear glasses? Logan, what do you think? Can Bella and Logan put your heads up? Thanks. What do you think, Logan? How many students never wear glasses? Huh? I want the total, yeah, boys and girls. It says how many students never wear glasses. So the total boys and girls. Yeah, there you go, 305. And then Xander, this one's for you. Are there more boys or girls in the school? Boys. Yeah, there's 249 boys, 235 girls. So there are more boys in the school. So that part's all pretty straightforward. Now it says create a two-way frequency table. We're not going to do that. Okay, basically what that means is figuring out a percentage of every single box on this chart. We're not going to do that. We're just going to figure out the ones that we need to know for the next few questions. All right, so for each one of these, and I stress this, okay, when you're doing your homework, don't just write a percentage out to the side, okay? You figure it on your calculator and you just figure out that it's 28.3% and you move on to the next problem. That's a no. That's a zero. You don't get any credit for that. I have to see the fraction that you put together in order to get that percentage. Okay, so the first one says, what is the relative frequency, and we're just going to figure percentage there, of boys, okay, so that means only boys go on the bottom. So what is my, Marcus, what's my total number of boys? Okay, so of boys, so my boys go on the bottom, who or are sometimes wear glasses. Okay, sometimes wear glasses. So just of my boys, what's the number that sometimes wears glasses? Kyla? Sometimes wears glasses, boys is 48. Good. And let's see, who haven't I talked to yet? Try to get everybody. Ty, what's my percentage here? Why not? I said everybody get a calculator. Go grab a calculator. Everybody gets to join in. Now you're under the gun. 48 divided by 249. 19.3%. Good. Okay. All right. The next one says, what percentage of girls? Okay. So in this one, my total number of girls is on the bottom. I'm going to do this one out to the side. I'll kind of stagger them so I try not to get too grouped in there. What percentage of girls? So Addison, what's my number of girls? 235. And Tyler, of my girls, never wears glasses. 61. No, my number of girls, what percentage of girls? So I'm just looking at the girls line, and then the never wears glasses. 235 over 144. Girls that never wear glasses. So my 144 is on top because my smaller part's always on top. Right? Of girls is on bottom. My girls is 235. Never wears glasses. That's 144. All right. So let's see. Will, what's that equal out to? 61.3%. Okay. Those are my percentage of girls that never wear glasses. All right. Now it says for I, what percentage of students? That's my big number again. We're back to that. So my big number here is 484. Are boys. Laura, what's my R boys? 249. So of all of my students, how many are boys? Okay, R boys on top of the entire student body is on bottom. And I get, Avery, what do you get here? 51.4%. And again, right, you put that in your calculator. And just in case, if you don't want to do it in your head, I'll write it out the long way one time here. Will you tell me that percentage, please? 0.51. What is it? 44. Okay. Just in case doing it in your head doesn't work because I'm not real great at mental math, so I usually will write stuff out, but that's okay. You just take your decimal, you move it twice, you place it there, so it becomes 51 point, and then you use this 4 to round this 4. And since the second 4 is smaller than 5, it doesn't round up, it stays the same. All right, last one. What percentage of students? So that means the bottom of my fraction is the 484 because it's of all the students. Always wear glasses. What percentage always wears glasses? Isaac, what am I going to put on top? 76. Of all the students, how many always wear their glasses? And is there anybody I haven't called on? You want to tell me? All right, what is it? 15.7%. Good. Okay. Any questions on that? There is a backside to your notes, just really quickly so that you have it filled in, but I'm just going to tell you what it is really fast. So again, it's the of over the smaller group. So if you look at A, it's what percentage of all students? Well, my all students is that 272. What percentage of all students joined dance class? Well, I look at my dancing students. Of all my students, 75 of them joined dance. Somebody want to punch that in and tell me what it is? 27.6%. Okay, the next one says, what percentage of girls? Okay, so I'm just looking at my girls total, which is 142. What percentage of just my girls joined painting? Well, I look up at my girls in painting, and that's 38. My small part over my whole part. In this case, my painting girls over all my girls. And what's that one? What is it, 26.8%. Good. Again, in your homework, I have to see the fraction and then the percentage. All right, the last one is what percentage of boys? So my of boys, well, how many? I got boys. I got 130 boys. So of boys, my of is my 130. Joined painting class. Boys in painting was 33. So when I divide 33 in my calculator by 130, I get what? 25.4%. All right. For those of you at home, click load on the bottom of the assignment. It'll load your assignment in Kami. Please make sure on every single problem you show me the fraction and then the percent rounded to the 10th. Email me if you have any questions.